Hello, my people. Welcome back to the question where you have the questions and I have the answers. Thanks for just putting up with my personal statement and all of my pseudo getting around essay writing for scholarships. I'm going to talk about what happened yesterday. Originally, I wasn't going to, but one of my friends especially requested that I did, and I wasn't going to because I'm just one more person talking about it, and what's one more person talking about it in a sea of people talking about it, and that's just the thing, it's one more person talking about it, and everybody has different perspectives, as I always talk about. So here's my take on what happened. There was an attack on Washington, D.C. Bunch of Trump supporters got into the Capitol building and endangered the lives of many of our Congress members because, as far as we know, because Donald Trump lost the election and they and he refused to believe that. And this didn't just happen overnight. Rome was not built in a day. This has been a long time coming, and people are saying it's Trump's fault because he ordered it. And I'm going to say it's yes and no. Trump fanned the flames that were already there, Trump saw an opportunity and said, hey, go get him, guys. But this was going to happen no matter what, either today or yesterday or in the future. All of American history has been culminating to this one point because of how poorly we've run our country until now. No country is perfect, especially the U.S. The U.S. is just a series of mistakes being made and learning from them, but not learning enough, And I've always talked about how we've made mistakes and we've corrected them, but we haven't undone the damage that those mistakes caused. And that is how we get to today. Slavery was legal. Slavery was then illegal. But we never enforced that slavery was ever bad. Segregation was legal. Now it's illegal. But we never enforced that it was wrong. We never made up for that disparity that these illegal acts have caused between races. Same thing with the LGBTQ plus community, same thing with women, same thing with every other minority, the natives, Mexican Americans, Asian Americans. We've committed atrocities against them, and we never thought to go back and think, how did this actually impact them? We see the surface things, but also we don't think about the psychological effects on the people whose lives are being changed. We think this is a good act because it's helping this person. We ended segregation, and so now everything is better. But other people on the other end who now things are worse. These people riot because they have genuine fear that their rights are being taken away, because they live on such a pedestal that for the people to be equal to them, it makes them feel like they are getting less somehow. And that's not how it works. That's not how they see it, And we can call them protesters, we can call them terrorists. What they are scared and confused human beings. Did they do a bad thing? Of course. They commit an act of treason, an act of rebellion, full knowing what they were doing. And do I feel like there should be consequences? Of course there should be consequences. Unlike, everybody killed by police, these people did an actual indisputable crime, punishable to the highest authority, as stated in our Constitution. And the fact that the police let them get away with as much as they did, the fact that only 4 people died, and when they were shot, when that woman was shot in the chest, she received immediate medical treatment, is proof of how corrupt and broken our system is. They did not have rubber bullets fired on them. They were not cornered and hosed and harassed they were not body slammed or tackled. The military was not called in on them. The military was called not by the president, but the Pentagon said no. The Pentagon did not say no when a bunch of protests for Black Lives Matter broke out around the country. Protests that did not endanger the lives of our politicians. And I'm not saying that, you know, the BLM protests were completely great. No, they got more violent than the people protesting wanted. And we can come up with, theories of, was police, dressing up and causing havoc. It was the BLM protesters, destroying things. It was people just going in looking for anarchy, destroying things. The fact is, things were destroyed, people got hurt. That should not have happened. In a perfect world, we shouldn't even have to be protesting anything. Black people should not be on the streets asking for equal rights and equal worth in the eyes of the government. But they are. And that is because we as a nation have failed over and over and over again to protect our most vulnerable. And that needs to change. And how that can change is by avidly deciding to be firm in what we feel is right and what is right. But I say what we feel because everybody has their own opinions, as I say. Our country has tried to please everyone. Our country is a people pleaser. Because, just look at everything from the Founding Fathers up to the Civil War. Every single law passed was to make sure everybody stayed peaceful within the country. The Confederates won't leave if we let them have slaves. But the Northerners will riot if slavery continues. So let's do this half and half thing. People need medicine, people need food. Well, other people feel like other people shouldn't have medicine, shouldn't have food. So we can give them medicine and food, but not enough medicine and food that they need to survive. America is a country of complacency, of halfways. We say it's the land of dreams, everybody has an opportunity here. But people don't have an opportunity here. People have an opportunity, but that opportunity is not going to last. If you somehow manage to get into the country, there's no guarantee that you will become the next Jeff Bezos. And it's a very sad and terrifying thing that there are people who would do this, who feel so entitled, to their privilege that they would openly attack others. And I hope it can change. But this has shown us what those people are willing to do in order to keep their status quo. These people around, they brought guns, they figured out how to scale the walls, they broke in. And I just hope everybody now who said, people aren't violent, these struggles that these communities go through can't possibly happen. People don't rape that often, they don't kill people for being gay, they don't kill people for being black. It's all you're just making it up and playing the victim. These people, because their elected president lost, brought guns and basically a freaking army to break in to the Capitol building, and we don't know what they would have done if those people were still inside. Because we know they left death threats on Nancy Pelosi's desk. We know that weapons were brought. For what reason, we don't know. But we do not know the extent that they would go if our Congress members were still inside. And that's the scary thing, that they were prepared to do something, and they were robbed of that opportunity because the Congress people left. That is the first time that the Confederate flag has entered the U.S. Capitol building. Not even Robert E. Lee could get it in there. They fulfilled his dream. They did not bring American flags. They brought their Trump flags. They brought their Confederate flags. And that shows you exactly who these kinds of people are. It's not about patriotism. It's about their pride, keeping their status quo. This whole fight was never about patriotism or what's good for the country. It was about what's good for them. And that's sad and it's frightening. But now that this has happened, we have to think about how we're going to recover and how we can use this to our advantage and to be better. In my opinion, America is not the end game. We've always looked at ourselves and taught our history as if every single thing in the universe was leading up to America, and this is how it's going to stay, and we're just going to be the final civilization. But every other civilization thought they were the final civilization. You think the Mayas knew that they were going to be wiped out one day? Did the Romans know that they would fall by their own hand? No. It is ignorant for us to think that progress and the cycle of civilizations rising and falling ended with us. We, if this continues, are going to fall by our own man. We'll burn in the flames that we lit ourselves, that we we mass produce our own matches and handed them right over to our homegrown arsonists. We need to learn our history and how we got here so we can figure out what we did wrong and how we cannot repeat it. Personally, I think that the people who stormed the White House should be treated with the same level that we treated the Confederates right after the war. Not, later on were they able to go and gain power again. I mean, right afterwards. Property given up, people arrested, voting rights taken away, unable to hold any position of power, property given to the homeless so that they may have a better life. It's not the best solution, and I know that. It is a very, very difficult situation that these leaders are in, especially given with what we've seen and what has happened before and what has led up to this. These people are people just like you and me. They are very misguided. And they have been offered opportunities to learn and become better, and for whatever reason, they have not. Does this mean we are to treat them inhumanely? No. Because if we treat them inhumanely, we are no better than them. And I know I hate being told that, because life is unfair and sometimes you want to make it fair, and it's always a double standard of if they can do all of this shit to us, why can't we do that shit back to them? And it is because they do that shit to us. Violence for violence is the rule of beasts. And revenge is a nice fantasy to have. But we have to figure out how to go forward and construct a better future. And not just get even. Getting even is so much fun. But we cannot let that want for revenge cloud what we do and where we lead this country. Because I feel like it's clouded us for too long. Currently, they are discussing invoking the 25th Amendment, which I have not gotten to yet in my amendment series, but the 25th Amendment is the line of succession. If the President of the United States is found to be unfit for his position, he is to be replaced by the Vice President. If the Vice President is unfit, Secretary of State, then Treasury, then the Speaker of the House, and so on and so forth. Nancy Pelosi has already said that if the cabinet will not invoke the 25th Amendment, they will start another impeachment trial, hopefully which ends in his removal. I feel like it is a little bit too late for that, as he will be out of office in 2 weeks. They had their chance to impeach him, and no one believed anything that we said about him, that he was crazy, that he was dangerous, that these people were crazy and dangerous. And now that they've seen it for themselves, now that their own lives are in danger, because they didn't do anything about him until it affected them. People out here dying on the streets, and when we marched and we wrote petitions and we made videos online and we told them, by the way, our lives are in danger, these people are dangerous, he is inciting this violence by giving them a voice, giving them courage that they are in the right when they are not. And they did not believe us until they personally were in danger. Remember, all politicians, Democrat, Republican, Independent, are still politicians. We settled for Biden, we settled for Kamala. These people are not our saviors. They're one step towards a better future, but we have to hold them accountable how they did not hold Donald Trump accountable, how Donald Trump did not hold himself accountable. We, Gen Z, are now able to vote. And we have to use that, because it is the only thing keeping us from a dictatorship that we almost fell into this past year, this past week. If Donald Trump is removed, Mike Pence will become the President of the United States for 2 weeks. The shortest term of any president. The previous shortest term was 2 months, held by William Harrison. I don't know what else to say. I am very, very sorry that this happened. And I am so sorry that anyone had to put up with this, because this should not have happened, but it did, and it was always going to. And we can't do anything about it now except learn from what happened, learn what led to this. Placing blame is not going to solve anything. We need to come together, we need to listen to one another and believe each other's stories. We need to advocate for the underprivileged. We need to take a good hard look at all of the systems in place, all of the laws, learn them, and figure out how they contribute to the problem, so we can rewrite them. The Constitution is old and it is the longest living document. The last time it was changed was in '86. It's over 30 years ago. We are the future. And I know that sucks, because these people are determined to ruin the world for us up to the very last moment where we inherit it. And it should not be our responsibility to fix all of their mistakes, but it is. And unlike them, we cannot shirk that duty and put it off onto the next generation. We were given a tall order to fill, but I believe we can fill it, because we've already done so much. We flipped 2 historically red states. 2 of them. We flipped a deep South state, which has not been done in so many years. So yeah, yesterday was scary and it was bad, but we've already accomplished so much. The Democrats, as much as I don't want to have hope in them, they are really our last fighting chance. The Democrats now control the White House and Congress. There is hope, but we just have to hold Kamala, and Joe Biden accountable and make sure they do not go back on their promises and that they fulfill every single thing that they said they would do. Because if they don't, it is not them facing the repercussions, it will be us. They decide what happens to us, and so we decide what happens to them. And we're going to make sure that the LGBTQ plus community has access to services, has access to healthcare, has access to children to adopt, that Black people do not have to fear walking the streets, that the police no longer have the jurisdiction to decide who lives and who dies. We are going to make sure that the planet is no longer ruined. We are going to ensure that there are no more starving people on the streets. We're going to get people who are wrongfully convicted of weed out of prison. We're going to raise the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour, because $7.25 is an outdated number designed by an outdated man. We are going to stop excusing rape in our courts, and we're going to make sure every single case for murdered and missing Indigenous women is solved, and that every court case for a wrongfully murdered Black person ends in our favor, with all evidence used, and make sure that justice is served so that people know that this is not just a trend, this is not just the left being special snowflakes. We're going to make sure that we mean business, not by storming any Capitol, not by burning down any buildings, but by taking the law and making it ours, by fixing the system that tried so hard to squash us. So go forth into the world and make it a wonderful, beautiful place. So long, and thanks for all the fish. And be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.